We're speaking with Mike Waller. He's my friend from the Center for Security Policy. He's the author of an incredible new book, Big Intel. And one of the chapters in there where I open it up, I see Peter Strzok's name and Crossfire Hurricane. Mike, could you explain exactly what was going on inside the FBI at the beginning of the Trump administration?
Well, sure. One of the main purposes of the FBI is to fight foreign spies, foreign espionage, people who steal our secrets, and then foreign agents who influence our decision makers and our public in a subversive way. So the FBI would mount big counterintelligence operations to combat this stuff. But the only big operation begun on the watch of Comey and Peter Strzok and McCabe and the Obama appointees to the FBI was an operation called Crossfire Hurricane. It was a counterintelligence mission to hunt down foreign spies and influence ops, and it concluded and spread the rumors that Donald Trump was a Russian dupe, a Russian stooge, maybe a Russian agent, certainly a traitor to America. So our spy resources, our counter-spy resources, were devoted to hunting down and spreading this story. But what happened was when John Durham, the special counsel, did a very lengthy investigation of this, as did former FBI Director Mueller, they concluded that this was all based on a false premise. There was no truth to these allegations. And furthermore, the FBI built its entire case on two foreign entities. One was a former foreign intelligence officer from Britain, who was a leftist who worked on Soviet active measures campaigns back in the 80s against NATO. So Christopher Steele. And the second one was a Russian who the FBI suspected was a KGB man all along.
So ironically, the Russians, tragically, the Russians who were being accused of being a part of the Trump administration were actually orchestrating an op against the incoming Trump administration. And didn't it come through the Clinton campaign in some way?
It was initiated by the Clinton campaign. So what the Russians want, like the Chinese communists want, is they want stable, predictable American leaders. So you have that in Hillary Clinton. You have that in Barack Obama. You have it in John McCain or the Bushes or people like them. They don't want unpredictable leaders like Donald Trump, because then they can't plan.
No,
then they don't know what to subvert. So they wanted somebody like Hillary to win. They wanted somebody like Joe Biden to win. Biden's never hurt the Soviets when he was a senator going back to the 70s, never lifted a finger against the Soviets, and certainly helped the Chinese communists.
Yeah, but wouldn't the counter argument isn't Biden supporting Ukraine in such a big way that the Russians would be opposed to that now?
Well, you would think so, but if you look at how it all started, the Russians wouldn't have invaded Ukraine had they had been faced with a really tough American president and a resolute leadership in Europe. So they waited a year into Biden's administration before invading. But what was the CIA doing? The CIA was concluding that the Russians were going to take over Kiev in 1 to 4 days. So what did Biden do? He had no strategy. Instead, he said, let's abandon the Ukrainian capital, pull all the embassies out, pull the Ukrainian government out and move it westward toward Poland, and basically surrender the Ukrainian capital to the Russians. That was his plan.
Wow.
To make Kiev a free fire zone for the Russians to come in and conquer unopposed. So when you go back and look at it that way, it looks like maybe it's a little different. So all this aid to Ukraine, save Ukraine, came well after the Russian invasion, and it was a campaign that was led by Boris Johnson of the United Kingdom and by the really pro-Americans, the pro-Trump leadership in Poland.
So bottom line is they actually have enjoyed Biden being president because it gave them the opportunity to act where they couldn't have under a Trump administration.
Right, and you see this all around the world. The Iranians are doing it. The Chinese communists are doing it. Now's the time for bad guys to act when you have an irresolute, weak, compromised leadership like Biden.